the drive shaft guy.
Joe, you should check out a video by Sparks called "The Girl's Crying in Her Latte." Just putting that out there.
I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube. This is my buddy Gordon Dymowski. This is my buddy Patrick McCray. I have no sanity left.
And yet your last name is Sains.
Yes. Yes. We're here to do the final episode of Archive 81. Simple enough for me to say.
The final unnatural act of Jules Sains.
Coming soon to a drive-in near you.
This to me is how you do a setup for a season 2. The way they ended, everything they do in this episode is just perfection. I mean, it is beautiful. From Dan's dad, we find out why he pulled Melody out of there in this episode, but she goes back. And it's like, holy shit, this woman's going back to the Vista. Why?
Dames. That's what I say.
That's the thing, too. We think Melody is just some damsel in distress. In many ways, she doesn't perceive herself as that. And I think that's one of the best things about this character. Though she ends up becoming a damsel in distress in many ways, or wants to get out of where she's at, she doesn't like try to push herself as that or perceive herself as that. It's a character who ends up in a situation that she could not have predicted. And that's something I really, really enjoyed. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was about to say, I don't think Melody was ever a damsel in distress. She and Dan were people who were pulled into a very unique situation. And so I think to call her that and then all of a sudden say, well, she got heroic. Well, no, she
was heroic the whole way through.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I think the damsel has become a very loaded literary term in the past 20 years. And generally when it's used, now I'm looking like an old Patrick McGowan. Every episode I'm looking like somebody else. When it's used, it's usually a pejorative term, and it means a female who exists solely to be put in danger to catalyze a male character who actually has the volition in the story, who wears the pants in the story, to have to go after her and rescue her. And that's the only thing. And it does have a lot of similarities. Is she female? Yes. Is she the subject of a rescue mission? Yes. And that's where those things diverge. So I think the cool question is, although she fulfills those qualities, what keeps her from being the cliche damsel?
Yeah.
Gordon, what do you think? Am I on the wrong track here, or?
No, I think you're on the right track. I think when you say damsel in distress, it's a very old school story term. Like I would argue that Victoria Winters is a damsel in distress because
Maggie certainly.
Yes, but with the one thing that they don't necessarily have that Melody does is agency. Just
Not
like
a
Dan.
lot.
Yeah, not a lot, but it's people who are pulled into this really unique, strange situation. One brought in by, because she's looking for the truth. Both are essentially looking for the truth, except that with Dan, the truth is restoring these videotapes so that they're watchable.
Yeah.
With Melody, it's figuring out the truth of where her mother came from.
And Melody really could have extracted herself from danger at any, to a certain extent,
right,
at any number of points, including, the point, Joel, that you mentioned, where the psychiatrist releases her, and she chooses.
Yeah.
to pursue an heroic path.
Well, that's something I had said, that, yeah, she chooses to go back to the Vista, which I think is very heroic, but she has been heroic throughout this, though. I think when I look at the character as a whole, I never said she was a damsel. I said she's somebody who never is a damsel in a lot of ways. Though now Dan is watching her. When he's watching her, he's somebody who's very infatuated with her, which I like that aspect. With her, though, she's somebody, like you said, she's looking for her past. Okay, once she finds out that everything is, well, even before she finds out everything is a fake, she's trying to get her friend out of there. She's ready to leave. But then she realizes that Jess is in big trouble, that they're going to kill her. They're going to sacrifice her. She doesn't want that to happen, obviously. And that's sort of what she tells her in this episode. They're going to kill you. They're going to sacrifice you. So her mission is to save this little girl. It's not about herself anymore. It's about saving someone else.
Realize this is totally the Wicker Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is totally the Wicker Man.
Yeah. In every way. But
and Joel, we're talking about the original Wicker Man, not the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man.
I know that's the one you like.
It's not the one with the bees, Joel. Seriously, Joel. There's only one Wicker Man. There's only one Wicker Man with Edward Woodward and Christopher Lee.
Well, there's Brandon Routh in Wicker Man Returns.
That's a real thing?
Sure. And then there was Wicker Man versus Batman, Dawn of Justice.
And then there was Wicker Man 4, Electric Boogaloo.
All-Star Wicker Man by Grant Morrison.
Wicker Man, The Wrath of Khan.
Oh, my God. I think, babe, look, I do not love the Wicker Man, Nicolas Cage Wicker Man movie.
You have a Nicolas Cage Wicker Man waifu pillow.
There are 3 Nicolas Cage movies I own. Snake Eyes, Face Off, and what's that other one? It's the one where he's in Las Vegas. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I think it is.
Okay, let me add another Nicolas Cage movie you should see, Joel. Color Out of Space.
I have, and I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
No, I didn't like it at all. Look, I get why people would want to copy John Carpenter's The Thing to a degree, but it's like, really? I just did not love it for what it was.
You might like adaptation. As a writer, you'd like adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you a really.
You know what? You go to the Wellspring. Go to Valley Girl. It's on TV.
I'll tell you to me the most underrated Nicolas Cage movie is I think it's Bringing Out the Dead. I think it's what it's called.
Is that the one in the ambulance?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's
a great movie.
Yeah, that is really an underrated Nicolas Cage that needs a Blu-ray release. Great movie if no one listening to this podcast has seen it. But back to Archive 81, they do a really good job of showing how brave Melody has been and is in this episode. Going back when she doesn't really have to go back, but she chooses to go back to save the life. And it's what you want every female protagonist to be. I mean, really, somebody who will speak soft, but knows when to raise her voice. Somebody who will stand up not only for herself, but for others. It's like, we saw some of this in the 04 on-air pilot with the blonde-haired Victoria winners, which we all liked. But now I know that was an on-air pilot, but with this, we get a full-blown protagonist who's really, really smart, really intelligent, and really, really brave.
And the great thing is, she's been that way since episode 1.
Yeah.
Even in the pod race.
Yeah, and it's only episode 8 that now Jules is like, oh, she's a hero. Well, Jules, there's
Now,
whole
Gordon.
yeah, there's whole 7 whole episodes where she's looking into this. She's protecting the girl, so it's not like this sudden explosion of heroism.
Jewel, he's just yanking your chain. You're loved, Jewel. Seriously. I feel bad for Jewel. Jewel,
Oh
you're
my.
doing God's work.
Oh,
Interesting. Another, down my feminist quagmire, which is what my doctor's calling it. You were talking about Dan sort of becoming infatuated with her, and that's also an interesting thing. If he is falling in love with her, I think he's falling in love with what she's doing.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool because otherwise, again, this could become a real weird lecture on the male gaze and so on. And I think one of the things that rescues this is that you can play a couple of games to sort of disrupt the certain rather extreme political narrative. One of them is called flip the genders. And if you flip the genders, would the characters basically be doing the same things, be treated the same way? And the answer, I think, is yes. If Dan had been in her shoes back then, they would have been too tight. But also, I think if he had been doing a documentary with a Visser, young Dan, at age 10 or what, but it would have been the same. I think the other thing is play the game of equalize the genders. So if Melody Pendrith had been Martin Pendrith or someone like that, I think he would have been just as transfixed, not necessarily romantically, although who knows, but certainly out of fealty, because fealty is something that's very important in this. The Dan and his friend, and that lovely, lovely monologue that his friend has, where his friend's talking himself into supporting Dan and all of this. I think it's just great.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me messed up every time I see it.
Yeah. What did you guys think of not just Melody going back, but we get the Visser fire, obviously. We see the room and the projector catches fire. What did you guys think of all that?
It was awesome. I mean, it's just a wonderful big let's deliver set of set pieces of storytelling moments.
Yeah, and I think too, it's Jewel, you'll mention this is a setup for season 2, which we never got.
Yeah.
I think even if this had been meant as a done in one, even with the same ending, it works perfectly. And I like the fact that there have been some series that have had we're going to do only this is our last season. Oops, we got renewed. I kind of wish that had happened with this because I think there's some really great lead-ins to some some potential follow-up story, but it works as both a final episode and as a lead-in to more stories.
I'm sorry, Joel, you were going to say something. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, real quick, a series that happened to not on Netflix but on UPN at the time, because me and my wife watched it. When Veronica Mars was on the first season, they initially had gotten, or this was only going to be one season. They were on the verge of being canceled, so they were going to be one season. Then the ratings were so up by the end, they got picked up for a second season.
Well, there's histories of this in TV. I mean, the weirdest is in a show, Jewel, I swear you would love, and you've heard me advocate this in the past. I'm serious. You would love this thing. You'd have to get through the first season or just not watch the first season as Babylon 5. And Babylon 5 was really unique in that it all was planned out. All 5 years of that show were planned out meticulously by Straczynski with all sorts of trap doors in case they lost this actor or lost that actor. So he really was prepared. What he wasn't prepared for was to be told, sometime during season 4, you're not getting a season 5. And so he had to wrap it up really fast. And he did it beautifully. And then suddenly at the end of season 4, Ted Turner comes along and says, you can show it on TNT. It's fine.
Yeah, and Joel, Babylon 5 is on Tubi.
Well, here's something that's not shocking. Ted Turner fighting for something. Ted Turner, who
I miss him. I really miss him. The world needs Ted Turner right now.
Yeah, we need that kind of, I didn't always agree with his policies on colorizing movies, but at least he was willing to take chances.
Well, he took another chance in buying the Jim Crockett Promotions wrestling company and turning it into World Championship Wrestling.
Yes, and I think he would have been a good antidote to a certain other multimillionaire who maybe has not earned all of his money and has made a shambles of democracy. I really think. I think Ted Turner had some strokes or something.
Yeah, his health kind of went boop 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 boop, and then
he's still alive, right?
Here, let's look.
But I when because I kept thinking, my God, where is Ted Turner right now? And he's not able to fight the fight. It's kind of like Oliver Stone. It's like, Jesus, Oliver, where are you right now that we need you? But anyway.
Well, right now he was interviewed in 2018. He's suffering from Lewy body dementia, which is, and I hate to be the bummer here, but that's the thing that ultimately brought down Robin Williams.
Oh shoot! Oh my God!
I'm sorry to be the bummer here. So
no, but that glowing thumbs up
let me backpedal.
Anyway, it's neither here nor there. Back to Babylon 5. It was a show that had that. Oops! No, we can't. Yes, we can. And so that 5th season is kind of wacky. It's this thing about psychics and things. But back to Archive 81, which is what we're here to really talk about. Although you really should watch Babylon 5, Joel, because you would love it. Yeah, no, I mean seriously, you really would. The thing with Archive 81 is that, and this is something I deal with Dark Shadows, is that it's this issue of what is text. And if they didn't make a second season, then the text ends here. And so we have to look at it as a 1-season story, as an 8-episode miniseries. And that's how I watched it. I didn't know that it was going to continue. And given that, I thought the ending was brilliant. I had no problem with the ending. It was a good old-fashioned Rod Serling. You go to get this girl out of time and rescue her, and you do it. But here's the bummer. You're now facing an entirely... I mean, to me, that last shot in the episode is so horrific, where he sees the Twin Towers, because you realize, oh my God, you have nothing but America's worst, 20, 30 years looking at you, coming down the pike, and he knows it.
Yeah.
And talk about being, he was powerful enough to face down a demon and, help rescue this woman from this oblivion, this phantom zone, but he can't stop 9/11.
Yeah.
Wow. That to me is huge.
Yeah. It's a very, very powerful ending to a series that was really, really good, really great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The podcast, I've been listening to some episodes, really great too. I mean, no shock.
Season 2 is real wacky. Season 3 is much stronger. So if you can push through to season 3.
Here's the thing though, it's so the audio, it's so good though. I don't mind it. You know what I mean?
Great. I mean, it's not bad. It's not, season 2 is not bad. It's just real. It's the odd duck.
Right. I've been listening to it while I've been writing, so it's something I've been listening to across my computer. So, by the way, I'll leave a link to the podcast in the description box again. If anybody
you
wants
definitely
to listen,
should.
It's really, really good. Go check it out. What was you guys' favorite moment in this episode?
It's the conversation between Dan and the character whose name I can never remember.
Mike.
It's a conversation between Dan and Mike. It's just everything else is supernatural adventure stuff that we've seen a million times. But seeing that kind of really honest friendship between two men, I think it's just a wonderful modeling of appropriate male relationships when, men are so crapped on in the media, and their defenders, these red pill types, are no gems either. And to see a depiction of friendship and dedication and love between these two characters that sidesteps both of those pre-made narratives, I think it's just fantastic. I just made me feel great. I think it's the bravest thing in the episode, personally.
Gordon?
Well, I'm going to choose a different scene simply because I don't want to just. I agree with Patrick, but I wanted to. And to me, the scene the other scene that struck out was the final confrontation between Martin Donovan and Donovan's character and Dan, because you get the sense, like, I don't think they ever really, at least for me, they never really clarified why the younger Davenport was doing what he was doing. But Martin Davenport was kind of like, he was talking about how he studied this realm forever. And he says something really creepy, because he says, something to the effect of, when you take a picture, you don't know what else you're capturing. Because it's simultaneously a very Dark Shadows idea. Because you could see them doing something like that because it's low budget. It's a very Lovecraftian idea. And I love at the end of the scene where, Donovan's about ready to shoot him. Mike comes in, knocks him out, and says, 3 years of combat training finally pay off. Stage combat training.
I'm glad you brought something just now up, Gordon, that made me think about what you said about Dark Shadows. Dark Shadows does do that because, remember, when they take a picture, there's a picture that captures Gerard Sal / Judah Zachary, and Quentin denies it. So they do, in a sense, do that in the original series in a different way. They don't quite do it the way Archive 81 did it, but and I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say there's actually, and I think we talked about this before we recorded, but Sapphire and Steel, also available on Tubi. I think it's like their third or fourth story involves photographs. It's about these two. We don't know who they are. They just investigate time stuff. Yeah. And what they find is there's this shadow in photographs, and they see this entity move from photograph to photograph. And it's like a way that it try to captures people, because one of the cliffhangers are Sapphire and Steel in a photograph, and they're looking like, oh, we just got. I don't know how they get out, but it's a very conceptual idea, but it's ultimately, it's one of those, like, you don't have to be stoned to go, whoa, that is massive.
Yeah. My favorite scene, two favorite scenes. One, Melody's mother tells Dan he'll try to trick you. He's meaning the demon, and to see how far the demon goes to trick Dan was really, really good, really interesting. That's a scene I love. I get it's a fact, but it's really well done, and it's well acted by the actor who plays Dan. Great job. I mean, him and the girl who played Melody do not get enough credit for the way they really helped this series and helped their characters along with the verbiage and the way they played them. Both great actor and actress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's exquisitely well cast and so tastefully acted, and nothing that tasteful should nevertheless be this downright entertaining. Yeah. But it really makes you go back and look at a number of other horror series that are the contemporaries of Archive 81, and suddenly a number of them feel really kind of trashy, or even trashier. And this just, it manages to be so classy and yet scary and exhilarating and weird. I mean, when you go into the ritual chamber and you see that part of the ritual chamber are all of these monitors with melody on it, and that normally that would just be a wild set piece. And it's like, no, these are necessary for, broaching these two dimensions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's it's also a series with some great ideas, like the fact that I think in the final episode, I think it's Martin Donovan's character who says, yeah, every time you watch those videos, you're ripping apart the barriers of reality, and it's the idea that what it means is that every time Dan was looking through one of them, you'd get that kind of weird mold that would grow. And that this is a creature that is somehow, it's not quite a god, but not quite a demon. And it's very much built on the idea that it's not I'm trying to think of an equivalent horror. It's not like, say, and I'm going to pull a very obscure reference, Tales from the Dark Side, which was basically Twilight Zone, but maybe didn't hit. That tried to have a little bit more of an edge, but maybe didn't quite go there.
I watched it, George Romero.
Yeah, I mean but it's it was, it tried, but sometimes it when it hit the mark well. But this isn't one of those series. It's like it knows how to build suspense, and it doesn't. It also feels like there's a great amount of planning done, and not like, oh, okay, we've got the. This could have easily been, here's a podcast. Let's just throw it into script form and film that. Versus really thinking through, how does this play out visually? The fact that that there's this reliance on old school video. I mean, they even use a Fisher Price video in
yeah, the
episode 8.
magnetic, the audio tape thing. I knew a guy who had one of those.
And so it's much more of a. It's easy to look at horror as, okay, different episodes or different moments. It's the difference, and Jewel, you and I have talked about this privately. It's the difference between John Carpenter's Thing in 1980 and the 2010 remake of The Thing.
Yeah.
One, because it uses practical effects. It's a well-written story. It is a very thoughtful meditation on paranoia.
Yeah.
The other basically looks like it was a CGI demo reel to get work.
Yeah. Man.
And I'm going to insist that I think you're not giving Color Out of Space a chance, Jewel. I think you're dismissing it because, it's not. I think you need to give that another chance.
Mandy.
That is
I need to see that.
Mandy's a good movie.
Bad Lieutenant 2, Port of Call, New Orleans, directed by Werner Herzog.
Yes.
Have you seen that, Jewel?
No.
Oh, it's good. It's really good.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, it'll remove any memory of that other wannabe asylum version Wicker Man out of your head.
They finally got it right. Yeah. I have a suggestion. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. We've done our favorite scenes and so on. So I'm wandering around YouTube and I stumble across this thing that was made, I think, in the 90s by the BBC, which apparently was so terrifying to people at the time that, like, they had grown men vomiting and just all this other stuff, people thrown into wild fits.
Is it like late night horror or something like that?
That's called Ghost Report, I think. I had never heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I'd like to watch it and maybe see if you guys want to give, we give our first blush responses to it after we watch it.
It's on YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Here, let me look this up. Oh, I know if I'm going to need Kleenex for it. To cry with. Get your mind out of the gutter, Jewel.
Oh my God.
Double scorpions.
Let's see. Let me do BBC Ghost Report.
I think it's called Ghost Report 2000. I don't know because I can't research it without turning this
Yeah,
off.
I'm
But
looking this up.
hang on.
Is it Ghost Watch?
Yeah, I think that was it.
Okay, I'll throw that in the chat.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay,
Yeah. My history. Yeah, Ghost Watch. Yeah. Yeah, BBC's most traumatic broadcast.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's something I want to find out more about.
I'll see if I can rent it on Amazon instead of renting it on YouTube.
Well,
yeah,
I
just
don't
threw it
have
in
to
the
rent
chat.
it. It's free.
Oh, it's on.
I just threw it in the chat, Joel.
Yeah, it's free.
Okay, you guys want to do that tomorrow night?
I have no objection.
I have no objection either.
Okay. Is 10:30 good for that, or do you need a
Yeah, no, 10:30 is fine. The more we stick to the same time,
okay,
happier.
Is there
How long is it?
It's an hour. It's an hour and 31 minutes.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
That's easy. Yeah, let's try it out. Let's see. I mean, if it's terrible, we just say, hey, this is terrible. Let's not.
Yeah, let's talk about something else.
I have the perfect backup suggestion.
Let's talk about Color Out of Space and why Joel should see it.
I've seen it.
And you should see it again to reappraise his opinion.
I have the perfect backup in case this is bad. I don't.
If it has the word Halloween in it, no.
No, it does not have the word.
What is it? Muppets Halloween. Take Manhattan.
It is Predator 2.
Oh, I like that movie.
That is a great movie to watch.
Well, then even if we like Ghost Watch 2000, then the next time we'll talk about Predator 2 with Terry Weigel.
There you go. Predator 2.
Who turned herself into Lyle Alzado. It was amazing.
Terry Weigel is a very interesting individual, shall we say.
1985, absolutely stunning.
Danny Glover is a detective who tries to take down an alien who's hunting him. Yeah.
With Gary Busey.
Yes. By the way, that's
great.
That's the first movie he returns from a motorcycle accident that literally killed him. That's his first movie back, I think.
You can't keep a good Busey down.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Don't abuse the Busey.
Is there anything you guys want to add about this final episode? It's really great.
See it. It's so good.
Yeah. Steal your neighbor's Netflix and watch it. It's worth it.
It's very good.
If your neighbor says anything, say him. Say Jules Sains on Resident Collinwood told me to do this. It's all his fault. So go reach out to him.
Reach out and touch some Jewel.
No, first of all, this is a great series to, first of all, go watch, but it's also a great podcast to go listen to. Definitely go. The link to the podcast will be in the description box. Also, links to Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page will be in the description box, and links to Patrick McCray's The Dark Shadows Daybook About, which is nominated for a fucking Rondo.
That's
award.
Right. And put in how they can vote. Terrico at AOL.com. All you do is say, I vote Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound for best book.
And tell your friends to vote for it too. So you tell your friends, hey, let's vote for. And by the way, for the person who wrote up the ballot, it's Patrick McCray, not Patrick McKay. Shame on you.
No way, they got my name wrong.
Yeah, they got your name wrong, Patrick.
Oh, for Christ's sake!
Hey, you know what? For the person who got Patrick's name wrong, I'm going to call some people. we're getting stealth helicopters and black ops specialists.
Oh, but you could, by that address, you could write to Dave and just tell him that.
Yeah. Link to vote for Patrick.
Yeah, but special ops are more fun.
Link to vote for Patrick McCray. That's McCray. Dark Shadows Day Book Unbound will be in the description box. Go vote for.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for my upcoming novel, Touching Jewel.
With a 10-foot pole. Anyway, guys, it's always a pleasure. Gentlemen, I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Take care. God bless.